Greetings from Southern Yankee Homestead. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Well, as the title says, we're going to be checking the Pomodoro dust collector versus the Bauer or Harbor Freight dust collector. Originally I wasn't going to do this because I saw this dust collector on Amazon for, I think it was 35 bucks. I'll double check that. And I figured I'd try it. Then I got it in and I was a little bit skeptical. I'll show you why in a minute. So I went ahead and bought the Bauer or Harbor Freight one because, well, one, it's more complete, and two, I think it's a better design. And let me show you, before I show you why, let me show you what comes in each kit. So in the Pomodoro, this is everything that comes in the kit, well, minus those. You get the top dust collector section, the bottom that attaches to a 5-gallon bucket. You get 2 filters, you're right back to these, a couple adapters, a couple gaskets, your air inlet for your dirty air, 2 hose clamps, a set of destructions, and miscellaneous El Cheapo hardware. Now, the filters, we'll get into that in a bit, but it comes with 2 filters. This one says through hole for woodworking, sawdust, and dust, etc. This one, 2, no through hole, only for ash. Anyone that has a wood stove should not be using plastic containers to suck up ash. This is completely worthless. That's a good way to burn someone's house down, or their garage, or wherever they're sucking ash up in. Those of you that have a wood stove or a fireplace and use it regularly know what I'm talking about, because you have a special vacuum that's made for ash. This is what the Pomodoro comes with. The Bauer comes with a hose, a cyclone head unit, a bucket lid already drilled, or already set for this, a gasket, a clamp, and attaching hardware. I think there's destructions here too, but we're not going to worry about those. Just from initial comparison, I like this one better already. Now, let me get into why I bought that one when I first got this one. I'm going to break this down a little bit more, but when I got it in, I looked at it and it's like, oh look, it's got a 2-inch hole. Except down in there, it's like a 1-inch hole, maybe 30 millimeters. Wait. Yeah, probably less than 30 millimeters. And I got looking at it, this is what your dirty air comes in at. Well, I went ahead and got out my calipers because I was curious. And that comes out to 1 1/10 of an inch. Or looks like 27 millimeters. It's a heck of a cut down from a 1 7/8 or a 2-inch. But the bigger issue I see on the inside. I'm going to actually take this apart. Now, with this pulled apart, you can possibly see the issue. It's right here. So this baffle goes on over the top of it, redirecting air through this little chute here. Well, that chute is a whopping 6/10 of an inch or 16 millimeters by 1 1/10 of an inch. I understand in a vacuum, restrictions cause things to accelerate. But when you're doing a dust collector, you can only accelerate it so much. And I really, seeing that had me really question the effectiveness of this. Is it going to actually affect it? I don't know. I had serious doubts as soon as I saw that. So let me go ahead and put this back together, and I will explain a couple other things that I needed to get before I could do this test. I did go out, this also came with the Bauer. I forgot about that portion. So for the testing, I'm going to be using 3 different items. Basically 3 different cuts of sawdust. Well, I decided to adapt them. So I went and picked up this universal tool adapter. I picked up 2 of these because the thing that produces the biggest chips here in our little, well, I won't say woodworking garage, but in this building, is my jointer, electric handheld jointer. We're going to be using that. We're going to be using my miter saw with a finish blade on it, a fine tooth blade, and then we'll also be using the table saw with a coarse blade. That should give us a good range of basically different sized chips to see what happens. I am not doing this in the same method that a lot of people I've seen on YouTube do it. Everyone that builds a dust collector, for whatever reason, take whatever they have for a dust collector, throw it out on the floor, suck up all the chips, and say, here it is. Or they get 50 pounds of flour and suck that up, or do some other, marbles or something like that. The issue I have with that is, if you have a dust collector that's working, you shouldn't have massive piles of sawdust everywhere. When you're cutting, you're not going to be sucking up massive piles of sawdust, unless it's a joiner or a thickness planer. But even then, it's going to be feeding through at a regular interval. It's not going to be sucking it up, overpowering the entire dust collector and plugging up the whole works. So we're going to be using the actual tools, and I'll get into what I'm going to do for each one in a minute. Also, while I was up at Lowe's, I picked up some Project Source Super Performance cloth filters. I did that so that when we're done with the test with one of them and move to the other one, I can change out the filters so I can clean out the vacuum and have it as close to as clean as possible when we move to the next one, so they can do a side-by-side comparison. We will be using a Bauer shop vac for this. This is brand new to me. This is the 7-gallon shop vac. The reason I did this, I didn't think this was going to be effective. It's like a 1-inch hose, maybe 3/4 inch. That little vacuum works, but it sucks. That little shop vac works, but it sucks in more than one way, and not always in a good way. Sometimes it don't suck, in which case it really sucks. Anyhow, so the Bauer, the red one from Harbor Freight, is $39.99. So figure with our taxes and whatnot, it's $43. The Pebador Dust Collector 2.0 DIY is $27.99 free shipping, and I think there's a couple taxes on that as well, minor. So figure 30 bucks. So it's 30 versus 43. We're actually going to start with the Pebador, and I'm going to go ahead and get that set up. I did get a Harbor Freight bucket for this one as well, so you can count $5 more on that, but I needed a bucket anyways for this system. And I didn't want to modify that one, so we got an old paint bucket here that I just, cut a hole in the lid. I still got to drill it out. I'll do that here in a second. I'm not worried about the dust in the buckets. If you want to see that, I'm sorry. I'm probably not going to show it, just for the simple fact that I'm not interested what's in the buckets. I want to know what's in the vacuum after the buckets, because a dust collector is only as good as the separator. And if you're like me, well, you got a small shop, you don't run your tools all the time, you kind of want to keep the dust down, so we'll keep it small, keep it easy. remember that funky adapter? I modified it so that I can put this on my dust collector port on my miter saw. Now for reference, we're using a spider blade. Where's the markings on it? Yeah, Spider Tarantula. It's a 7 1/4 inch 62. We've been using it for doing laminate flooring. Actually, I need that one. That's going to be my first one. And this is what we're actually going to be cutting. We're going to be, I'm going to take 10 swipes with the dust collector on using this and the laminate flooring. The reason behind it is because this is an ultra fine dust. It gets everywhere. And for reference, while I'm touching this and whatnot, think I'm that dumb? Crazy, but not that crazy. So we're going to take 10 cuts and see what, and then we'll move to the next tool. And again, we're doing the Pomodoro right now. Remember how I said I got those dust bags so that I could check how much dust is actually in there? Well, they don't fit on the Bowers. Apparently the filter is bigger than your standard shop vacuum. So that you can see, oh hey, that's loose. Let's turn that down. So that you can see, there is no dust in here. Let's see if I can run my vacuum and my chop saw off the same electrical. I'm going to test my electronic skills. Oh hey, probably it would help. Now pause the block. Ear Pro. Where's my ear protection? Alright, foamies it is. The good stuff. Well, that's a lot of dust. Alright, we're not going to check that right now because we're just going to switch gears. We'll slip this out. And we're going to grab another extension cord because for this next one, I am not going to be plugging it into the same one. Alright, here we are. I got my Walt, what is this? DWE 7491 table saw set up. I got the cover on it with the anti-kickback mechanism. I am not going to be running the vacuum on this because, well, I don't have a splitter to run this. And if you want to know, the Bauer system plugs right in, nice and snug, right into the back of it. And I guess we're all set. I just got to plug in the table saw and we're ready to go. Because of the amount of dust that this table saw makes, I'm only going to do one cut on it. I'm basically going to be taking this rough cut 2x4 and bringing it down to 3 3¾ inches. Alright, here's our next setup. Now for this one, I'm going to get some bigger chips out of it. We're going to be using a, what is this, DeWalt D26676 electric jointer. I also had to modify it, or that other container piece there, so that I could get this on here. It's not perfect, it's not great. But for the purposes of this test, hopefully it'll work. It's also a little awkward. Can't imagine why, can you? But let me get this stabilized. We are at 0. Let's just go to, we'll go aggressive. We'll go 1/32 of an inch. We're going to take 1/32 of an inch off this board, basically from here to, oh, right about there where the clamp is. We'll measure it afterwards, and we'll do 2 passes. Ears on. So, just out of curiosity, this completes our first part of the test. Yeah, we got some sawdust in there. Filter's comparatively clean. Let's see what the cat barfed up here. Here's our true test. Uh-oh, I see dust. Oh, I also see an idiot about to stick his hand into a vacuum cleaner with it being plugged in. All right. And the verdict is, there's a little dust in here. You can see, very fine. There's also very little dust in here, which I'm fine with. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead, wipe this out, and get set up with the other dust collector and see how that works. I was just thinking of something. I took the Pomodoro apart because I had a question on the hole, but I don't know if you can see in this one. This one is just straight in, no restrictions. And it's much, much bigger. So, yeah, we'll see how this works. Oh, and I'm not taking the top off because unlike the Pomodoro that hold on with 3 screws, this one's held in with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws. It'd take me forever. Are you kidding me, Harbor Freight? Oh, nope. You just got it really, really tight. Holy smokes. I thought it was the wrong size initially for even their buckets. Well, that's a positive lock. I didn't think it was going to fit on their own bucket. Sorry. Alright, so I used the vacuum and a paper towel. We're nice and clean now. And I used a vacuum in here too, and well, I had a little bit drop out, but I guess that's to be expected. You get the idea. There'll be a noticeable difference if when stuff comes through. Now, Oops. So let's just see out of curiosity. And just so that no one can complain, whoops, here's the dust. About the same. There's actually a little bit more in here. And if you didn't know, this is what that joiner puts out. And that stuff goes everywhere. If we dig down here, you can see the table saw stuff is minor. Then we get into whatever was in the bottom of this bucket. Nasty. But ultimately that jointer is why I have this. You can see lots of good sawdust. We'll be able to use this with the chickens. Not this particular one, because of the laminate flooring. So I guess there is a pretty clear winner here between the Bauer and the Pomodoro. Harbor Freight wins. Theirs is hands down much better, gets out much more of the dust. And if you also noticed in the process, I also cheated a little bit with the Bauer, and I took the hose off and cleaned up the miter saw. Now, the dust coming from the miter saw is neither this one or that one's fault. It's just a faulty design, and apparently it's inherent in all miter saws. They're dirty machines. So I guess in the future I'll just set that one up out in front of the house. I did catch a lot of the dust, but it's just a messy machine. I'm happy with that. This is going to work. One note, this one was actually more stable than Bauer. This one was all tippy and topsy-turvy, but I'm going to fix that in the future. I have a rolling cart here that I'm going to go ahead and mount the vacuum and the dust collector on so that they're both in one position. Other than that, I mean, I'm surprised, but I'm also happy that I went and bought this one as well. And for note, this is not a sponsored video. Harbor Freight has not sponsored me. I bought these with my own dime. Pomodoro did not sponsor me. This is not sponsorship. This is paid for out of my pocket. And I thought it'd be a good comparison, and surprisingly, hands down, this one won. Who'd have thought? But I probably could talk for a while more. I'm not going to. I'm not going to bore you. So hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And also, we have a 1,000 subscriber giveaway, and we're getting close from giving away a $500 Amazon gift card, or a gift card for your country, if so does it. Check the end screen. There should be a video post there, or a hyperlink to take you to that video. If not, check our giveaways playlist. I'm sure it's in there. Alright, again, hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, subscribe. And you'll see me on the next one.